Okay, hey, this is Kevin with Big Bear Performance. I want to explain how you receive your new 32mm cartridge kit from Big Bear. It's going to look just like this, okay? So you go ahead and remove the top. And then remove this preload collar right here. Then the spring. And then the preload spacer, okay? So now we're just left with the cartridge kit itself. This is compression, and this is how you tell the difference between compression and rebound without the caps on, is that if the hole's at the top, that's compression. If the hole's at the bottom, that's going to be rebound, okay? This is a fill hole. So this is a 49mm touring model Harley Davidson. This is a 2022. So the first thing we want to do when we're trying to assemble our forks, now that we've got everything apart, this is a part that exists in your front end. On a 2022, would be your top out spring that's in your forks, along with this wear band, that wear band, this steel washer for the seal, and then your seal, then the clip right here. So how do we assemble all this? Once we've got it all apart and cleaned it, I've got the bolt in the bottom there. I've already attached our little device here that we grip in the vise so we don't damage the leg. And I've already washed it out on the inside. So the first thing we're going to do, on 2022s, it comes with a top out spring like that, that it's originally in your forks along with this hydraulic cup. And what this hydraulic cup is for, is that if you ever bottom out the front end, the fork comes down and goes over this cup, and it's a fairly snug fit in there, and it'll actually hydraulic the bottom of the fork instead of allowing the bottom of the fork to smack right into the bottom of the leg. That's what that's for. Okay, so it's important that you put it on, especially if you're a guy that does wheelies. So we put this on. The first thing we want to do is put our top out spring on our cartridge. Okay. On all of Big Bear's cartridges, we do not use this 2017 to 2022 top out spring. We will supply you with this 1-inch top out spring, and it goes right on over the cartridge right there. Okay. Then we go ahead and install that into the fork tube. See that top out spring is going in the fork tube, and then everything comes out the bottom, right? We're going to install the hydraulic cup on the bottom of the cartridge, and then we've got our wear band here, our wear band here, our washer here, and our seal, and then we just go ahead and slide it right into the lower leg. Okay, like I said, in all Big Bear's cartridge kits, we do not use, this is an inch 800th spring. We send a 1-inch top out spring. You can use this. In fact, Olin's uses this size top out spring on the Nix 22s. But it forces you to preload, in our opinion, over preload the front main spring to get it to come together, and you've got to push really, really hard. And typically that's not the way we like to set them up. We use the 1-inch top out spring, so you're only preloading just a little bit, and you can do it by hand, and it works fantastic. I prefer, if I don't have a 1-inch top out spring on the stock length 2022, and I don't have a 1-inch top out spring, I won't even put one in. But it's best to just to use that little 1-inch top out spring. Then we just go ahead and put this on the vise, and then tighten down that leg. And we're just going to tighten up the bottom bolt real quick. Always make sure that inside of your tubes and legs are really clean. Just think of it as if you're assembling an engine. You don't want debris in there at all. So again, I use a ratchet gun, air gun, because what this will do, because it comes on so quick and hard, it'll run the bolt up into the threads without any issues, without spitting the cartridge tip. And what I like to do is I'll just do that. And that's nice and tight. And then I'll check it with a wrench. I already made sure that my little copper washer was on the head of that bolt. You don't need to use silicone on these. That copper washer with that bolt seals them every time. Don't goop that thing up with thread sealant and all that kind of stuff. It's unnecessary. So we go ahead and take it out of this vise and we put in a lower vise just so we can drive the top wear band in. Okay. We go ahead and put the seal on, and there's two ways to put the seal on. You've got a spring underneath here on this lip, and on top you don't see a spring, so you want this to be the top, facing up. Slide that over. I've got oil all over this, so it's being lubed. If not, if it was all dry, I'd use grease or a little bit of oil. The seal driver right here. Somebody's already put these fork tubes in. See this right here? That's what happens when you over tighten your triple trees. It squeezes the fork tube and distorts it. Just be careful, don't over tighten it. Follow the factory manual on torque specs. And you can see that snap ring snaps in. That means that I've got the seal driven all the way down. So you can feel that top out spring in there, see that? Alright, so now we've got the seal installed, the clip, cartridge is tied in there, just the cartridge itself. This is the time and the point that we put the oil in before. So you got your, always use Olin's oils with the Big Bear Performance 32mm. It's a certified oil. It's made in Sweden, and it's certified oil, meaning that the weight of the oil is 100% certified, whereas all the other fork oils out there are actually just hydraulic oil, and the weight of the oil can vary because it's not certified. These valves are so sensitive and have really finite adjustments that we want to use the same oil with the same weight every time. And this oil is made to go with wear bands that are PTFE and extends the life on them, and it's the best oil. I mean, it's just, if you build up a big hot rod motor, why would you use cheap oil? Use the best oil you can get your hands on. So we go ahead and fill up the, not fill it up, but put about half a quart in here. And then start pumping the cartridge. And this is my compression side, so I can feel that it's got resistance on the way down and very easy to come up because of the check valve that's on the main valve there. Alright, so we need a bit more oil. Just look in there and make sure you're not going to overfill it and have oil everywhere. Alright. Okay, so that's bled. This is a 2.5 over. We use that 1-inch top out spring because we're using a fork tube that is 2006 to 2016. It's actually a Dyna tube. It's 2.5 inches over. It's a 25.5 inch upper tube. The stock tube on a bagger is 22 7/8. So we've raised the bike a bit over 2.5 inches, and that works really well on a bagger. And of course we've built this cartridge kit for that length. For the stock assembly for the stock length 2022 Harley Davidson touring model is exactly the same way as this. Use a 1-inch top out spring. Just the length is different, but it's exactly the same procedure for assembly. So now we'll go ahead and set the oil level at 150 mil. For all the Americans out there, it's 5.9 inches. Just double check my tool. Alright, so we're at 5.9, and we just go ahead and suck the excess out. The reason we set the oil level at a certain level, number one, it's obviously the cartridge needs oil. But the main reason, or the secondary reason, I should say, is to have a certain air gap inside the fork. So let's say the oil level's here where my finger is, right? When this comes down in operation, that air gap is going to be compressed. And we call that an air spring. And what that air spring is actually doing, it's a tool that we use to give the front of the bike support under braking. So when you apply the brakes, the front end goes down, right? That air gap is going to compress and turn it into compressed air, but that's going to support the front of the bike under braking. So we want a certain amount of compressed air, or a certain air gap in there, to give a certain feel on the front end under braking, and that's what that 5.150 mil is all about. Okay, now that we've set the oil level, we can install the preload spacer. Goes in first, then the spring. I always like to put the numbers up, just out of habit. If you don't have a pull-up tool, you can just use this, your finger, and then you go ahead and put the preload collar on the top. And then you see how I can, just pulling it down a little bit, I can expose that hex right there on that top. Okay, I'm going to put this 3/4 inch wrench in there, open ender. I can just use it to pull down. See that? I'm pulling down with my right hand, and it's going to sit there just like that. This tube that's on top is actually what goes all the way down to the valve and pushes down on a needle jet, and pull the needle jet out of the port or push the needle jet in just by this adjustment right here. Okay, that's what that's about. So we just go ahead. Now that preloader right there, this is what actually preloads the spring right here, this piece here, and that actually screws in and out of this body. It's threaded. This piece is threaded, so is the inside diameter of this top cap. So as we turn this hex, there's a hex on the inside there that screws that preload adjuster in and out. Okay, that's how we preload the spring. So we just screw that on there. That top piece of the cartridge kit, where that rod is, you can see that it's hollow. So don't put the rattle gun on this part, okay? You just put the 14 mil on the top here, 19 mil here, or 3/4, and just go ahead and close them up and just snug them up. Nice. They're nice and tight, but they're not crazy. See that? That's all you need to do. You don't need to kill it. This is backed all the way off, so there's no preload on anything right now. We bring the upper tube up to the cap and just screw it on. Easy peasy. It's important that you have a set of aluminum jaws on your vise. We'll just snug up the upper tube in the vise here, and we just need to nip this cap up. We don't need to tighten it up really tight, because once the top clamp of the triple tree clamps on here, it's going to lock that top cap, and you're not going to be able to turn it anyway. So it doesn't need to be super tight. Just nip it up, snug it up. See that? That's it. That's all you got to do. Now we can preload the top, the main spring. So take the 14 millimeter, see that's backed off all the way, and then we go righty-tighty and we count the turns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, okay? 12 turns is a standard adjustment for our preload. It is also the same preload amount that you want to put on an Olin's fork. 12 to 15 turns is right in the money area. And now our valve on top, this is the compression side, and we want to go righty-tighty, just using your fingertips till it stops, and then come out 10 clicks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's the perfect adjustment on a touring model bike for compression. On rebound, it's going to be 8 clicks out. The shim stacks that I have on the piston on our 32 millimeter, I've dyno tested over and over and over again. These are the clicks that you want to run. These are the pressures that we want to run on compression. And on, as I said, on rebound, you want to do 8 clicks out. And you can feel the indentations. There's actually a little spring inside this brass piece that's in there with little ball bearings that clicks on indentations inside this cap. And that's what you're feeling. Now, that's it. Now it's ready to install into the bike. These are a set of 2022 triple trees. If you walk back here, as you can see, there's just 2 bolts here and there's 1 bolt here. So what you want to do is you slide this up and put the cap right about there, just with the aluminum cap just level with the top of the tree, and then snug that up so it holds it, and then snug up the bottom. When you're doing your neck bearing adjustments, okay, you want a certain amount of preload on your neck bearings. When you do those adjustments, you want to have one of these trees loose. You can pick with either one. I'd leave the bottom one tight and loosen the top tree, and then do your adjustment. It's so that the fork, because right here, if you tighten this and tighten this, it's not going to allow the trees to move at all. You want to just actually loosen the top tree, have your bottom tree tight, or vice versa. At least one of these trees has to be tight. Then you can adjust your neck bearings and then go ahead, proceed to tighten up your other triple tree. That's how neck bearing adjustment's done. The way that we like to do it, neck bearing adjustments, is to pull the front end all the way to, on a touring model bike, pull your front end all the way to one side to the fork stop, and then let it go and it'll swing back. In Harley Davidson's book, they want you to have it swing past center, and then back to center. The way we like to do it is because we ride so aggressively, full lock, and swing back to center, and maybe just a little bit past, and that's it. And that's how we like to do it. Okay, well, thanks for watching, and good luck on your install. If you have any questions, any technical questions, you're not sure about something, please just give us a call. We'll answer your questions, and I hope this video was helpful.